So you've just read the most amazing book and you get the great idea to have a book club, but you look around your messy house and you feel defeated before you even start. But don't be defeated. Don't lose hope. There's hope for you and hope for your home, and you can totally have a book club. I'm Jenny Snow. Welcome to the Book Club Life, where we talk a lot about books, a lot about life, with author interviews, book club how-tos, and book reviews. And today, for our very first book club how-to, is decluttering expert Dana K. White of aslobcomesclean.com.
Thanks for having me on. This is really fun.
Yes, thank you so much for coming. You were on my dream list of authors I wanted to have, especially for this subject. If you don't know Dana, then you're totally missing out and you're going to love her. And that's why I spent this whole day preparing for this interview,
Oh,
plus a little before today, to be honest.
yeah.
But so she has a successful YouTube channel, a really successful podcast. She's the author of several decluttering books. The most recent one, Decluttering at the Speed of Life, has over 2,000 reviews on Amazon, which is amazing. I know many authors who would love to be there. She comes up in dinner conversation with me and my mom friends when we go out, and she's the voice inside my head when I clean.
So, yay! I'm sorry about that, by the way.
No, that keeps me out of trouble.
Okay, good.
Do not do this. Do this.
Yeah.
But which we're going to get to in just a second. But before, and she's been on TV, she's been everywhere. But before all of that, Dana started out as an anonymous blogger because she didn't want anybody to know about her slob problem. So she was anonymous, Noni from A Slob Comes Clean. So Dana, I love your story. I've listened to your books. I listened to your podcast. It's a great story. So would you just tell everybody a little bit of what situation you were in when you were in that place of desperation and how you went from an anonymous blogger who didn't want anybody to discover you to helping women everywhere find hope for their homes?
Yeah. I mean, I make this face. I'm looking at myself in the camera. I'm like, because it is still weird to me. I mean, I've accepted it, but it's still weird that this is the thing I talk about. And then I can now show my face when I talk about my slob problem. So basically, the story is that I wanted to be a writer. I mean, I had always wanted to be a writer. That was what I wanted to do. I thought once my kids are older, I'll figure out how to do that. This was back in 2007, 2008. I wasn't reading blogs yet at that point in 2007. I'd heard of them, but I didn't know what they were. But I knew that I wanted to be a writer, and I was kind of looking forward to that time. And then I realized what blogs were and thought, oh, like that kind of took all this figuring out a way, like as far as how to break into the business of writing. And I was like, oh, I could just write and people could read it. And so I thought it only makes sense for me to do that, to have a blog, so that it can lead to something else someday, because writing is what I want to do. And I didn't start it until August of 2009, about a year and a half after I had decided this was the thing I needed to do. And the reason I didn't start it was that my house was a disaster. And my kids were, at the time when I started the blog, they were 3, 5, and 7. So basically all of my time that I had kids, which I thought was going to magically cure my lifelong messiness. I don't know why I thought that, but
It just adds to it.
I mean, I do know why I thought, what else am I going to have to do but clean, whatever. Anyway, but it had gotten worse and worse. And it was really something that weighed on me because, we're talking about hosting a book club. I couldn't have people in my house unless I had 2 weeks notice. I mean, I would shove everything in the master bedroom and lock the door, call that decluttering, and then spend a week cleaning. I mean, like that was my solution to having someone over. And so I really hated this about myself because it was something that kept me from being who I wanted to be. And I just knew that because I am somebody who throws myself into stuff, I was like, no, if I start this blog, if I start writing, it's going to take more focus away from my house, and I've got to figure this thing out. And so I went a year and a half with this new motivation of, if I could just get my house under control, I could do the thing I want to do. And I still couldn't do it. And it became even more defeating to me. Like, seriously, what is wrong with me? And then,
Mm,
I know we prayed before we started, so I don't know exactly what you guys talk about, but I am a Christian, and I, in prayer, which was really just me being incredibly frustrated that God had not answered my prior prayers, I was just like, seriously, God, why? Why do you not cure me of this messiness thing so that I could do this thing I really felt like He had planted in me as a desire to do? And yeah, I basically got an answer to that. And that answer was right about that, like right about your getting your house under control. And I was like, okay, that's actually a good idea. But I
and
had no,
was
what,
that
I'm
the
sorry.
moment that you thought of your title, "A Slob Comes Clean"?
It was like in that moment, a slob comes clean came to me, and I was like, oh, I don't want to say that. Like I had never called myself a slob before. I had argued that I wasn't a slob because I like things clean, but I wasn't actually getting it clean. I mean, like, so it was,
Yeah,
I didn't want that identity, but I could not think of another word. I mean, like, could not come up with another word, even though I was wanting to be a writer, which is weird, but whatever. Um, until after I started, I started it in a moment of desperation, like this year and a half of thinking about and planning, and then like literally in 20 minutes, I had set it up along with a new email address and a fake name because
right,
never occurred to me that this would actually be the thing I wrote about long term, like that this would be my writing career. Because I thought, okay, this is a way for me to practice writing, to figure out what blogs are while I get my house under control. Give me a couple months, everything will be perfect. And then I'll be able to write about things that I actually felt competent to write about. Um,
right.
and here we are. It's getting close to 12 years later. Is that right? Oh my goodness. Blah. Yeah. The kid
And
who
I
was
just love
7 is
it.
now 19. So yeah.
I
um,
just love that you didn't
yeah.
even want your husband to know because you didn't wanna see that look in his eyes of, "Okay, honey,
She goes
sure, go
again with
for
another
that."
new idea of how she's going to change everything. I mean, he's always been supportive. I don't want to act like he's not supportive.
Right.
He just, um,
Knows you.
yeah, I mean, I had tried
Yeah,
everything and
yeah,
always failed, so yeah, I started writing about, just really didn't tell anybody. So I wasn't like, hey, friends, come read this. I mean, I was literally writing it into the internet, and I
right,
wanted people to read it because I wanted to be a writer and I wanted to learn about blogging. So I would try to, put it on whatever there was to do at the time to kind of get your work out there, except for to people I know. And then it was about 2 or 3, it was probably 3 years. I don't know the timing, but before I kind of made a shift into, and it was through a lot of people asking and saying, please tell us how to do this. And for so long, I resisted. I was like, no, 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 no. I'm just figuring it out for myself. And then I realized that, oh, I really do have a place in this conversation.
right,
And that place is the person who understands the true starting point of the absolutely overwhelmed person in
right.
their home. And that was a part of the conversation that wasn't being addressed. I mean, like, nobody
Yeah,
else was writing about that. I mean, maybe there were other people and I should know about it, but like, that was a need in the market for organizing stuff, was
right,
because most people who write about organizing like it, they're naturally
mhm,
organized. And so their brains work very differently from my brain. And so what they are thinking is the starting point is my people's actual, like, some of us, that would be a great place to end. Like, if I could just get there,
right,
I'd be happy. Which we all know, that ongoing cycle of, oh, if I could just do that, if I could, but you know what I mean. So
yes,
it's this, accepting that this was my niche. And then over time, and then as I started doing that, started out with some ebooks, some small little ebooks. Um, then through that, realized, oh, there's a real need for this. This is
yes,
actually scratching a very real itch that's there,
yes.
for people. And so over time, yeah, I've embraced it. I mean, this is what I write about. This is what I talk about for hours and hours and hours. know? Um,
And
and there's value in it. So yeah.
yeah. And if you're just hearing about Dana for the first time, I always suggest that you start with her podcast and go back to the very beginning because it just tells the step by step. And once you get a little bit into it, I then suggest you get the audiobook because it's really nice to listen to while you're cleaning. How to manage your home without losing your mind if you're at that desperation place. And if
Yeah.
you're just wanting like tips, then decluttering at the speed of life helps you go room by room to like
Yeah.
not perfect it because you're never perfect, but
Yeah.
so diving right in for somebody who said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm starting a book club. I scheduled it 2 months out to give myself plenty of time to get myself together. What can they do today to start?
Well,
Some daily tips.
I want to say I love that your question is 2 months out, because like that we're talking about the person who is overwhelmed. I mean, and I get that. Like that was me. So the first, if you really do have 2 months, the first thing I would say is to start decluttering, because you're going to have to declutter anyway. There are layers to a clean house. There's your clutter, and that has to be gone and out of the way. And then there's the daily stuff. And then there's the actual cleaning. Okay. So the actual cleaning, you're going to get to it throughout this process, but that's what you're going to be doing in that last, week before people show up. Is the real if you're paranoid about this, like if it's something that, you're
Right.
like,
Because
oh,
your
what am I going
kids
to do?
will mess it up before
Oh,
then.
absolutely.
Who
Yeah.
cares about
And
the
go
toilets
ahead
right
and
now?
clean. I'm not saying go ahead and clean, but that's not going to last. You're going to have to do that
Right.
again before, the thing comes.
Right.
But as far as if you're 2 months out, I mean, decluttering is the first layer, but also do your dishes. Like do your dishes today and start doing them every single day, and just say, okay, I've got this 2 month goal out there. I'm going to do the dishes every day. And you will be shocked if you haven't done that in the past. I know there are people in the world who are like, there are people who don't do the dishes every day. I'm like, oh my word, there's a lot of us. Okay. But that right there is the number one thing that has to be done, and that really will start to change your house. And so even if you think I'm crazy, do your dishes today and say, I've got this 2 month out goal and I'm going to do them every day for the next 2 months. Your house will change. Like it's
Okay.
not just the dishes, it's going to be everything that changes.
Right.
And then focus on that decluttering, and make sure that as you're decluttering, that you're actually decluttering. You're not just stuff shifting, which is what I used to do when I would shove everything in the master bedroom and call it decluttering. That wasn't decluttering. Like that was just stuff shifting. And then the party was over, and that stuff either just kind of drifted back throughout the house or stayed in piles in my master bedroom, which already had its own piles. And I mean, so it's really truly getting stuff out of your house, which is the reason that my decluttering strategy is set up the way that it is to help you make final decision by final decision, and always make progress in whatever time that you have, so that you're actually getting stuff out of your house. Because once it's out of your house, you never have to think about it again, and that's how you make real actual progress towards your goal, instead of what I
Right.
had always done, which felt like I was just putting out fires, and then it never really got any better overall.
Yes. One
Yeah.
thing that you talk about that I love, that would be applicable here is to declutter the visible spaces. So for whatever reason, you get that itch to make some progress, and you go to your drawer that nobody's ever going to open and start decluttering that. No, start with the countertops. Start with
Mhm.
where the people are going to be in your
Yes,
house. Start with those.
you're
And I
exactly
love your
right.
practical tips that keep you from getting derailed into something that's not going to make a difference. So
Exactly.
another
And with
thing.
that, let me say with that too, you're exactly right. That's where to start. Start with those visible areas so that you don't end up at a week ahead of time and, well, my master bedroom closet is decluttered now, but I still can't have book club. So you're really a good student. You've really listened. I can
I
tell.
really do. I really do.
But
You've helped me so much.
thank you. Well, start with your front door. Yeah, like start at your front door where people are going to come in, and let that be your guide for what to do next. Is what is the next space that they are going to see, and work on decluttering those spaces and making real decisions instead of shoving it in those bedrooms. Yeah.
Right. So one thing I also like about you is not only are you practical and helpful, but you're fun to listen to. I like how you anticipate snarky comments from people and rebuttals, and you go ahead and just dive into those and answer those snarky
Yeah.
little questions in your book and in your podcast. But another thing I like about you is your definitions that you make up. You already said stuff shifting.
Mhm.
So one that I like is Procrasti Clutter. Can you tell us what is Procrasti Clutter
So
and how do you
procrast
solve it?
Yes. Just a little clarification on that. The reason I can answer all of the, oh, well, are you sure that is because I had all of the excuses in the world. Like every excuse you can come up with for why you shouldn't do things a certain way in your house, those were my excuses. And so it's me having had to work through those. But yeah,
And not even
um,
things that most people would say out loud, but we all have those little snarky thoughts in our minds.
I know, I know. That was the beauty of being anonymous at one point. I could say all that. And then all of a sudden I'm not anonymous anymore. And it was like, oh no, everybody knows the stuff that goes on in my head. But anyway, I just own it. But yeah, so Procrasti Clutter is it's the stuff that you procrastinate on doing because you know you're gonna have to do it eventually. Like, and so it doesn't feel like a worthy use of decluttering time and decluttering energy. So examples are the the clean dishes that are piled over there that were like air drying or whatever, that are on the countertop, or the laundry covered recliner or love seat or entire couch or the whole entire living room full of furniture, covered in piles of clean laundry that hasn't been folded yet. It can be all kinds of things, but it's there's a mental thing that happens that you look at the room and you think, oh, I need to declutter, and you think, oh, well, I'll do that later because I'll have to
Yeah,
do that later. And so I'm not
right,
going to spend my decluttering time doing that. And yet, if I don't tackle the procrasticlutter, I can declutter and the space still looks cluttered. And that is very defeating. So, a lot of what I talk about and a lot of what I do is specifically geared around how to keep myself going. Like, because
right.
I was so quick to quit because I was quick to get discouraged because I didn't see my progress. And so, um, if even though it feels like a waste of time to spend this decluttering time folding clothes, the beauty of folding clothes is it makes a huge visible difference to get that
Right,
recliner, you know, clear.
right.
And it's also, yes, it takes some time and a little bit of energy, but it doesn't take any mental energy. Okay. And mental
Yes,
energy is the real thing that is so limited in this process.
right.
Physical energy as well for some people. And yet, you add the mental energy issues along with the physical energy issues, and then it becomes unbearable. So if you can really do things in a way that don't deplete you of that mental energy, it really takes you far. So yeah, that's what I mean by that, is this just stuff you've been procrastinating on that is tempting to go ahead and procrastinate more even though you are tackling that space.
Yes, and it makes your life easier too. I have one story of procrastinator success where we get out of soap in the bathroom, and instead of going to the other sink or another bathroom or the kitchen to wash my hands, no, just go ahead and refill the soap, and it makes life easier for everybody who's using the bathroom for the next month until it runs out again. Um, and I don't even know if I should share this, but I also have a
Go ahead, share it.
procrastinator fail.
Okay, okay.
Every morning I start my day with some Bible reading and a cup of coffee and a drink of water. And in the evenings, I usually read a good book, and I have my little glass of water there. Well, for whatever reason, one day I left the glass of water, and then I saw it the next day, and I thought, oh, I should put that in the sink, but it wasn't top priority. I had other things I had to get done, so I left it there. Um, and that one day turned into 2 days, turned into 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know. But one night or no, it was in the middle of the day. I sat down to read and I took a big old gulp of water and I had to go vomit that out in the sink because that was bacteria water from who knows when.
Oh my
And I
word.
thought to myself as I was throwing up, oh my gosh, I have to tell so and so, my friends, about procrastinator that I
Yeah.
failed. Oh, and that was
Yeah,
a perfect
I
example
mean,
of
well, I think
procrastinating.
it is so it's a lot because it is not my natural thing to just pick things up and put them away and take it when I go and blah blah blah, that I have to come up with ways to break through that because yeah, I mean that's a huge part of just the everyday mess in the house. Yeah.
Right. Um, anyways, not fun, but a little bit funny.
That is funny.
To
That's
me, it
funny.
was. Maybe that
For
really
you.
grossed out some people, so I apologize.
You're good.
Okay. Another term you use that cracks me up is T-pad. So, what is T-pad and what's your solution?
Well, T-pad is time passage awareness disorder, which I made up. It's not real, except that I have heard from some people will send me links to different, I'm not sure exactly the real term for it, but there is like an actual scientific thing or whatever, but might have to do with my ADHD that I get diagnosed with by the internet on a
Distractibility.
regular basis. I've never been officially diagnosed, but I have a lot of people on the internet who tell me that I have it. So basically, it's that, I mean, I can go thinking I just cleaned the toilet because cleaning the toilet feels like a big deal. And so it's like, oh, I just did that, not realizing that time is passing and all of a sudden I'm have it. Oh, wait, it's actually been 3 weeks since I cleaned the toilet. You know what I mean? Like, so this, I don't do well with time passage, like understanding and
Mhm.
having a realistic understanding of how long it's been since I did something. So a lot of what I do is to help combat that, to have routines in place that just naturally occur and remind me, oh, it's time to do such and such, not
Right.
alarms and stuff like that, which alarms are fine, but I can ignore an alarm. But like a rhythm of, if I assign bathroom cleaning to Tuesdays, then Tuesday happens every week. And even though I may not realize it's Tuesday one week, I'm usually going to realize it the next week, and it's going to be a natural reminder, not just that it's time to clean the bathroom, but to make me go, oh, I missed it last week. Oh, it's been 2 weeks. It just is a
Yeah.
reminder to me to do that. So a lot of
Right.
things I do combat my TPAD.
Yeah, I totally have time passage awareness disorder, at least tendencies. But and my solution is to set a timer.
Mhm.
Like if it's the day of book club, I
Oh
have
yeah.
you in my ears and I have my alarm going off every 10 or 15 minutes, maybe 20. The closer it gets to the time of people arriving, the shorter my alarm is to make sure that I don't get distracted and off in
Yeah.
some dream world thinking of, no, clean, clean, clean.
Yeah.
And so that does help me the day of. And
I do
anytime I
love,
really have to be focused on something.
yes, I do love timers. I think what I meant more was alarms, like an alarm to
Okay.
remind me to do something. I have a million of them set. I mean, like I was just telling
Yes.
somebody the other day, I was looking at my husband's phone and I was like, how do you only have two alarms set? Like that, I can't even compute. You can scroll on mine and
Right.
I have so many alarms and I don't use them all the time, but some that are set to go off every week at a certain time or whatever. But when it comes to cleaning tasks, if I just say, "Hey, clean the bathroom now," if I'm in the middle of something else, it's easy for me to just go, "I don't have time for that," and
Oh,
stop
yeah.
that alarm, so a
My
natural
alarm goes
rhythm.
off every night at 8:30 to work out.
Yeah,
I don't even see it.
I know, yeah, right, right. So, yeah.
Okay. So it's the day of book club.
Mhm.
Okay. What are your tips and tricks for last minute cleaning?
Okay, so at the very last minute, um, go to your front door and stand at that front door and see what they're gonna see. If you are just do a set the timer, do a 5-minute pickup, and start at your front door. The 5-minute pickup is something that I'm hugely passionate about because it will change everything for you. Um, and that's just literally set the timer for 5 minutes, pick up and put away. But go start at the front door so that you're starting during that time in the space that they're going to see and move through the areas that they're going to see as you do that. And then always, think of those areas that where your guest is going to be without you, like the bathroom, I mean, like that is because I'm really good at distracting people in my, not in the bathroom, but like if they're in the living room and I suddenly realize I haven't done something, I'm really good at like, let me redirect your attention while I deal with that. But your bathroom is someplace where you, wait, what did that look like? So focus on your
Right.
bathroom, focus on their spaces that they're going to be, make sure that, your kitchen is key. If you're serving any kind of food, you want people to be comfortable eating whatever you're bringing out. And so, it's time spent doing a 5-minute pickup starting at the front door. Check your bathrooms, make sure they're clean. If you're going to have men there, make sure you lift the toilet seat so that you can see what they're going to see, that kind of thing. It's always good also to shut the, I'm getting into too many details here, but to shut the door because I don't know how, and I don't want to think about it, but especially in my kids' bathroom, sometimes there's stuff on the back of the door, that needs to be wiped.
Oh, that's a
Um,
good.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I don't ever see it because I don't use that bathroom,
Right.
so it's like,
Yes.
oh, okay, yeah, I need to know what people are actually
Right.
going to see. And just, but the goal is for you to be able to relax. And so just do the minimum of what you can do. Cause at that point, people, nobody has a perfect home, and they're going to be
Right.
more grateful for you to bring them into your home to have a place to be and talk about this book than they are worried about how clean
Right.
everything is, so
Yes.
that giving yourself that visibility rule, that timer to get the basics. Whoop, there goes my earphone. To get the basics done, and then your uh bathroom, and then wipe down your kitchen just to make sure that it's
Yeah.
presentable for with the goal of people being comfortable.
So I want to read a quote from your book. Not all idealists are slobs, but most slobs are idealists. And I love that quote. It really stuck out to me. And I was like, yes, I'm an idealist. That is true. That's what
Mhm,
gets me in trouble. It's a good thing because I shoot high, but it
mhm,
also gets me in trouble because I'm an idealist about everything in life. And so it's impossible. You'll explode if you go in all those
mhm,
directions. So on that last day, don't be an idealist.
mm-mm,
Do look at your timer to see how much time you have. And then, like Dana said, you go through the house as if you're a guest. And that helps you to see things with guest eyes, not your
mhm.
own slob vision where you don't see that's another Dana definition, but your slob vision where you don't see messes that have been there forever. But you pretend you're a guest and you go around and look at everything, shut that door. That's one I hadn't even thought of. I'll do that next time.
Yeah.
But and that also helps you to not get caught up on things that they are never going to see. Like I remember one time I was scrubbing off little chips of paint or specks of paint that were on the backsplash behind my oven. And I heard your voice saying, no one is going to see that, but they will see the huge pile of your kids and husband's shoes and boots and whatnot just scattered all over the front entryway.
Mhm,
So get over there, clean that up, leave the specks of paint. Nobody cares about that.
mhm.
And they're there for you, not for
Yes,
your perfect home.
right.
And besides, when they do see a little something not perfect, that just makes them feel better about their own imperfectness. And one other tip I want to mention is give yourself 30 minutes before they get there. Wherever you are, 30 minutes before, that's when you need to be like totally done with all the food prep, everything. And if
Mhm,
it's not done, just leave it. Not the house, definitely have that ready. But if the food's not done, you can kind of chop a little while you're
mhm.
welcoming people in. It
Yeah.
gives people something to do. But go to the bathroom, get yourself ready. If you're all hot and sweaty because you put off
Yeah.
some of the stuff to the last minute, get yourself ready so that you can enjoy. You spent
Yeah.
all this time inviting all these people over. You want to enjoy them, and that is something that I heard somewhere,
Mhm,
and it really has made a difference for me.
yeah.
Um, so we are now going to enter the part of the interview where I'm going to ask Dana about some embarrassing moments, about her husband, how they met, her favorite books. But before that, if you are getting value out of this book club, I mean, out of this video, please hit that like button and give us a thumbs up. And consider subscribing if you are into books. We've got all kinds of author interviews from lots of A-list authors. And if you would tell us in the comments which tip has stood out to you the most. You can tell us a favorite if you're already a Dana fan, or if this is new to you, tell us which one is like, yes, I'm going to start doing that today. So I would love to know, and I read every comment. Um, but now, Dana, just for fun, I would love to know, and I'm just curious about this with everybody, but how did you know that your husband was the guy for you? Not just somebody you really liked, but the one you wanted to spend the rest of your life with.
So we actually, I met him probably when I was about in fourth grade, and he was a senior in high school.
Oh.
Um, didn't actually, don't worry, nothing. There was no spark. I went to a really small church, and he was friends with some of the teenagers in my church, and so I had seen him, like I knew who these guys were because they were like, the cool guys in the church, the teenagers, and I knew that he was one of their friends who would come to stuff sometimes. And so um through those same guys who I became friends with as I was older, um is how we ended up meeting, and we were part of a group of friends for a long time. So we were friends for about 7 years, not counting the fourth grade. Okay. But like
Right.
after like my last year of college, we became friends and we were friends for a long time. And then, no, I guess it was my first year, whatever. I just don't want you to think that he hit on
No,
a
no,
fourth
no,
grader.
obviously nothing in 4th grade.
No.
Stay
I just
away,
think
stay
it's
away.
funny. I just think it's funny that I remember seeing him because he had a belt with his name on the back of it, which was the thing back in the 80s, you know. Anyway,
Yes.
you probably don't know. You look young, but but
I
that
was
was the
born in
thing.
the '80s.
Okay, there you go.
I'm a
So
little younger, but
so he so yeah, so I knew who he was, and then we became friends. I think it was actually my freshman year of college, and then um started hanging out as a group, and then I had graduated from college and moved back home for about 6 months. And we just, he asked me to go to something together. And actually, it was like with his church. And so his mom and her friend were in the back seat. I didn't know if we were on a date or not. I had no idea. Um, and I'd always thought he was hilarious. I had always, really enjoyed being around him, but hadn't really thought much about it. And he had this is so stupid, but he had this glasses case. It was like a black glasses case. And this was back when cell phones were like a brand new thing. And you kind of made fun of people with cell phones, like, oh, they're
right,
so important. They got to have a phone on them all the time.
right.
And, here we are now. But anyway, and so he had this thing, it looked like a cell phone. And we just the whole drive, it was like a 45-minute drive or something. We're pretending like we were talking on the phone and he being so stupid. And I laughed so hard that night, and I just came home and I was like, "I think I'm gonna marry him," because
Wow.
he was laughing at me, I was laughing at him, and we were just being so goofy, and I know, right? I should have something
You
much
just
more
clicked.
meaningful to say. It was a
No,
while,
that is really cool. That is
but
really I
I
noticed that.
I will say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No,
I
go.
actually I called my friend and I told her I'm pretty sure that I'm going to marry him. Like, and she knew him; she'd met him before. And I said, it's this thing that that super weird side of my sense of humor, like the part that most people don't get and are like, you
Right.
know, he gets it. Like that.
Yeah,
That was what I said about him, and I think that
right.
ultimately is what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's good. I do remember, dating this one guy, and I was telling him in a most embarrassing moment, actually,
Uh-huh.
and I thought it was just hilarious, and he was like, "That is disgusting," and I was like, "I don't think we're gonna be together,"
If you
because
can't
there's no where
laugh,
that came from.
oh, I know that would make me so sad. Yeah.
And I still didn't break up with him because I couldn't do that. He eventually broke up with me though, so it all worked out.
Oh, good, good.
But
I'm
I
glad.
remember that thought of, if your humor doesn't mesh, it's probably not gonna work out.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so, and this is another question that I just for some reason I really wanted to ask you. What is a compliment that somebody has given you at some time and it really meant a lot to you?
I love that you asked this question. And I feel like sometimes I might not know what to say, except that just like last week, I was in a text group with some of we call ourselves the geriatric moms now because our kids are all like, getting to be where they're young adults and everything. Um, and we used to hang out I mean, we still hang out, but like we all met when our kids were preschoolers. And somebody was saying that they had seen our town now has a young moms Facebook group or something like that.
Mm,
And anyway, and this one who's one of my closest friends, and we've been friends since our kids were preschoolers and they're now in college. And she said something about how Dana was the best at making friends back in the day.
mm,
Like, like that was Dana's thing, was to make friends. And I was like, that it really meant a lot to me because I'm like, that was and still is like it's really important to me to reach out to people and make friends and
mm.
create relationships. And anyway, it made me feel seen and made me feel like, oh, this thing that sometimes I feel like, am I weird to care that much about making sure that I create these relationships, that it was appreciated. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really, that meant a lot to me.
That's really nice when somebody sees something that's in your heart, like it's something you go for, and
Yeah,
they see it and they're like, that means a lot to me.
it does.
So yeah, okay, well, I like your answer. So this is the book club life. So you have, and I know you're a big reader, so you have to tell us what's a favorite book that you've read,
Okay.
or recently, or just it doesn't have to be like the favorite. I know that's a hard question.
I know my mind's going blank. And why is my mind going blank? Because I love to read. Um, okay, so I really love Liam Moriarty.
Okay.
I don't know if you've read her or not, but
Yes.
yeah, so
What
she's
Alice Forgot, I think I read.
yes, that was so good. It was so good. But I have loved almost all of her books. I will say almost all because the very last one, it's not that I didn't love it. It's just it maybe hit a little bit too close to home because one of the kind of side characters was a hoarder. It was like somebody who's
Mm,
so one of the main characters' mother was a hoarder. Um, and so some of the I don't I couldn't I never hit hoarder status, but I do feel like I was maybe at a point where I could have tipped into that at some point fairly easily back before I started all this. So anyway, other than that, so
yeah.
I'm not I'm giving you kind of a negative one, but it was a good book.
No.
But I really love her books. I love her characters. I love she just is very it's always an interesting story that's a little bit mysterious, but it's not like some big mystery, you know. But
Right.
there's something that you're gonna learn and
You're
find
gonna
out in the
uncover
end.
it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So I really like
Okay.
her stuff a lot.
Do you ever read historical?
I do. Why is my mind going blank?
I was just
Like,
gonna give you a recommendation.
yes,
If you
go
like
ahead.
a little mystery,
Hmm.
is Julie Clausen.
Oh, how do you spell
She's been on the
Clausen?
show before. Klassen.
Okay,
In fact, if you were ever gonna do a book club, that's one of the first 3 books I would start with in your first 3 meetings.
that's great.
But anyway, so, but yeah, I like her because she has a little bit of mystery. There's always a romance, and it always goes deeper. Like you're like, oh wow, this is in like life themes, but
Yes.
and she's made me cry. Not every book,
Yeah,
but some.
yeah.
Okay, so one other. What is your favorite children's book, or a favorite children's book that you enjoyed reading with your kids?
I loved this book called "I Love You, the Purplist." Um,
Hmm.
it was one that when my kids were little, I think it was we went to a little mommy and me group or something, and somebody read it, and it just like right in my heart.
Okay.
And anyway, and it was basic because I had 3 little kids, very, 2 boys that were 20 months apart. And so, there's always that little bit of competitiveness and stuff.
Yes.
And it basically is about the my I love you this and I love you the purplest and I love you, so there's no
Mm,
like I love you the most. It's ever I love
right.
each of you for how unique and different that you are. Like you all
Oh, I
hold
like that.
your own special place in my heart. So
I like that. I have
and
not read
then
that, so I'm gonna look into it.
and what's the one about the donkey with the magic stone? Do you remember that one?
Oh,
That one will make me bawl my eyes out now.
okay. That's not Stone Soup, though.
No,
No,
it's
because it's a
it's the
donkey.
donkey and the magic stone, and he turns into a stone, and then his
Okay, I
parents are
have read that.
devastated because he's disappeared, and then they go back and
Yes.
they I'm gonna cry thinking about it. And they're like holding the stone, and then they like make their wish, and he comes back, and I'm like, every time I listen, I'm like, or read it. Anyway,
So you're a
yeah.
crier too, huh?
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah, my sister-in-law gave me The Little Blue Truck. I don't know if you've read that,
Mm-mm.
when my kids were little, and my first time reading it, I teared up my kids are used to me crying, during
Yeah.
reading.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um, Dana, thank you so much for being on the show, and,
Thank you for having me.
um let's see, hold on, let me see if there's anything else I was supposed to say. Oh, yes, all of Dana's links are going to be in the show notes and the description. And if you do want to buy her book, if you use my Amazon link, that helps, but no pressure if you don't. And Dana, thank you just so much for being on the show. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. And y'all should use her Amazon link because it doesn't change anything for you and that lets you support the show. If you've listened for this long, I mean, come on, right? I'm just
Well, thank you
saying
so much.
they need to use your Amazon link. That's their way to show
Yes.
appreciation.
Okay.
So
All right. Well,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
All right. Bye, Dana.
Bye.
And
This was
we'll see
really
you guys
fun.
later. Happy reading and happy cleaning.
Yes.